Awaited escapely. Today we're back with the 8th labor, which is the horses of Diomedes. Just a quick note for my students who have studied other Greek mythology. This is not the same Diomedes who shows up during the Trojan War. You should remember that Hercules' stories takes place at least one generation, maybe about two, before the Trojan War. So that Diomedes hasn't even been born yet. This Diomedes is the king of Thrace, which is sort of a large, amorphous barbarian kingdom that's north of Greece. They show up in Greek literature and history for a long time. They're generally sort of the typical barbarian culture that the Greeks would ever be in conflict with. King Diomedes has war horses. These are horses trained to pull chariots, which are a big deal in ancient warfare. They were actually used historically, but in epic poetry, they seem to be a way for heroes to get into combat and then back out of it if they get wounded or tired or something like that. The Iliad is full of chariots being used in this way. In real life, they were used for fighting for a while, but they do seem to have this mostly like transport function for powerful, important people. Occasionally see people shooting arrows or throwing spears out of the back of them. But even by the time of Hercules, and certainly by the time of the Trojan War, they're already kind of obsolete. They're tactics that you can use if you have a crowd of people that will basically just stop horses and chariots and make them not worth the expense. That's, again, for direct combat. Diomedes' war horses are some of the best in the world. Not only are they trained to trample people, as you can see in our face painting here, but he's also subjected his horses to dark magic, brutal training, and they're generally considered to be like supernaturally dangerous and powerful. By the time Hercules is involved with this, these horses are eating human flesh. One version I've even heard even has them spitting fire or breathing fire like dragons. Hercules listens very patiently when Eurystheus tells him all this stuff, and then he starts asking questions. Again, doing things the smart way has become kind of Hercules' MO at this point. He points out that he's not just tasked with bringing back, a wild animal at this point. These are things that belong to an enemy king. So he asks Eurystheus if he can just raise an army to fight the Thracian army. Eurystheus thinks on this and says, yes, but you have to be the one who get the horses yourself. You can't have somebody else do it and then take the credit for it. Hercules says, fine. You may remember from way back in Hercules' backstory that he's actually led armies before. So not only does he know how to, behave on the battlefield, he also knows how to recruit. And he's got an easy time of it too. By the time he's, doing this labor, he's famous in Argos, in Tiryns, in the whole kingdom that Eurystheus is running. And people generally flock up to fight next to Hercules. He's got glory attached to him. He's got riches attached to him. People know that they want to be seen with Hercules, and that's enough for him to raise an army of young men to go fight the Thracians. He leads his army to Thrace. In some versions, they take ships. In some versions, they just march there. And eventually, he squares up with King Diomedes in combat. And, well, what do I always say about Hercules? Always bet on Hercules. Hercules defeats Diomedes in single combat and feeds him to his own man-eating horses. Apparently, Diomedes had been a really cruel, nasty, evil king, and Hercules, once he defeats him, finds that the people of Thrace wanted nothing to do with it. I've even seen a version where the Thracians offer to make Hercules king, but you know what? He's got his eye on the prize. He knows that he's got to finish these labors, get his redemption, and he refuses it. When he gets the horses back to Eurystheus, in most of the versions I've seen, even Eurystheus realizes what monstrous creatures these are, and tells Hercules to sacrifice them to the gods, take them out in the woods somewhere and burn them. Hercules gets a premonition that not even the gods want these horses, and he leaves them there under the instructions of Mercury so that they can be devoured by wild animals. I've also heard versions where feeding Diomedes to these horses somehow pacifies them, somehow makes them less brutal, less nasty, in which case Eurystheus just keeps them. But we've got the two different ends to this. Things to note here: Hercules doing things the smart way, Hercules going on bigger and more bombastic challenges. Now he's leading an army instead of just, going out into the wilderness himself. And again, you can safely always bet on Hercules. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.